Welcome to Illuminati Silver. We tell the truth about silver. Today is Sunday the 22nd of November 2020, and we're asking the question, are we reaching peak silver? This is the second video in the series, following on from our peak gold series and episode 1 of peak silver published last Sunday, all of which are listed in the description box below. So let's get to it. In episode 1, we looked at the definition of peak silver, the supply and demand as highlighted by the Silver Institute, including how much silver has been mined and likely available reserves still in the ground. In today's episode, we shall look at what is generally regarded as available above ground silver, as this will certainly act as a buffer against any supply versus demand deficiencies, certainly in the short if not the medium term. Now, the Silver Institute has revealed, and we fully accept, that whilst it's probably the leading authority in the world on silver supply and demand, its figures are not infallible. But generally, whenever there has been a deficit, it has tended to be no more than 50 million ounces or less for any particular year. Now, this year it's forecasting a potential physical surplus of silver of some 15 million ounces. But once ETPs are taken into account, we end up with a negative market balance of 100 million ounces. The question is, of course, if this materializes, is there sufficient above-ground reserves to mop up this or any similar deficit or any future deficits without raising the price significantly in the process? If the answer is yes, then for how long can such deficits remain sustainable? Well, in 2019, the World Silver Survey declared that the world held around 2.5 billion ounces, or for those who prefer it, 79,000 metric tons of silver above ground, at least what it determines as identifiable silver, mostly held as bullion stocks and coins. Now, we all know that far more silver than this has been mined, but it is in the form of jewellery and other appliances, which can be recycled to some degree, and arguably over time to an increasing degree, but still a significant proportion of this is still lost in landfill or in devices lying around homes that will not ultimately be cost effective to recycle. Certainly not at current prices. Now, some analysts, including the SRS Rocco report, which tends to be, in our opinion, very bullish for buying gold and silver, it admits that the above-ground stocks of silver is close to around 357,000 metric tons. But that includes silver jewellery, industrial silver, and bullion bars. So they're saying 357,000 metric tons compared to 79,000 from the Silver Institute, but the Institute is not including jewellery here. But Jan Nijvenuis of Voima Gold, hope I pronounced his name correctly, puts this figure closer to 1.6 million metric tons, some 20 times the Silver Institute's figure. And he quotes a calculation as to how he comes to this. However, even in our view, these figures are highly questionable in terms of how much of that silver genuinely can be reused. So, for our purposes today, and always erring on the side of caution, we would prefer to take the Silver Institute's figure, which is the lowest, of 79,000 metric tons, or 2.5 billion ounces of identifiable silver stocks and coins above ground. Now, if we do this, then we know we're on safe ground, and even our worst predictions are unlikely to come to light. So, With that in mind, based on past experience and worst-case scenarios, even if we were to forecast a silver deficit of 100 million ounces a year, if you divide that into 2.5 billion ounces, you have 25 years of available supply above ground to mop up that balance. And we have not had multiple years of significant deficits. In fact, one could argue we've had quite a few years of reasonable, not significant, but reasonable surpluses. Now, this is where the pumpers will hate us. We already identified last week that there is really no serious shortage of silver available within the Earth's crust. The concern is over what is potentially mineable and reachable at current prices. But of course, as the price of silver rises and technologies improve, then what may have been regarded as uneconomic mines or seams previously now become economic again. We also have to bear in mind that only around 30% of silver is actually mined from pure silver mines. The balance, the majority, is extracted while miners are looking for other precious metals and base metals. So there is still plenty of scope for further development. In other words, you do not just have to find a pure silver mine. Now, with 25 years of potential, and we say potential because not everyone will sell their silver stocks, although for the right price one could argue most will, but with 25 years of potential mop-up supply available above ground, albeit at a price, and admittedly rising prices will occur as that reserve is being absorbed, the higher the silver price becomes, this will lead to even more research and development occurring and excavation of additional mines. Even if, as the pumpers will tell you quite rightly, it could take 7 to 10 years to create that mining opportunity, sometimes even longer. But we potentially have 25 years, assuming an historic worst-case scenario. So there's still scope and opportunity available here. So whilst we are not saying there is so much silver around it's a bad investment or a bad idea to own, what we are saying is that short of a currency collapse or an economic collapse or a very significant invention which requires super duper amounts of new silver, that's a word we've not used on this channel before, super duper, and no solar panels won't do it, as we showed in our video published last week, link below, then frankly, there really is no reason for silver prices to skyrocket to the incredibly bullish, if not inflated prices that the likes of Keith Neumeyer would have you believe it will rise to. You see, it's all really predicated on economic dollar collapse. And to some extent, even that is mitigated by a flight to Bitcoin, as we are currently experiencing. So whilst over the next 10, 20 years, we do foresee rising silver prices on average, and we do, and we may very well see a spurt in the next 2 or 3 years, potentially. Whilst we see that, we do not see this rocket to the moon that has been promised for the past 10 years. Now, next week we shall pull all of this together and share with you the thoughts of others as to where silver prices may indeed end up. Suffice to say, what we are saying is that based on available data, there is no real medium-term shortage of silver, and unlikely to be for many years. What we can expect, though, is that over time, silver prices will have to rise as stocks slowly become more difficult to reach, and of course assuming no major find is discovered. But any deficit short-term will be quickly supported by those holding silver, who will be tempted to release their stocks and supply, but the effect will be new R&D initiatives and new excavations being carried out because of that slowly rising price. What do you think? Do share your thoughts. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel, not forgetting to press the bell sign so that you're notified of our videos as and when they are published. We hope you have found this video interesting and informative, and if so, please give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Please ensure that you have subscribed to our channel and press the bell sign so that you are notified of any future videos. Also, kindly visit our website at illuminatisilver.com, and if you haven't already done so, please subscribe either as a free or paying member for regular email updates and offers. Disclaimer: Illuminati Silver owners come from a background of banking, international wealth management and economics. Having now retired from these worlds, we are not qualified to give investment advice. Therefore, this and other productions must not be deemed to be giving such advice and merely represent the personal views of its owners.